Celtic may have just dropped a major hint about tomorrow's Ibrox starting 11, and trust me, you need to see this. We've also got breaking transfer news about a striker Celtic were chasing. Junior Adamu is ready for the biggest test of his life, and there's a war of words heating up between the managers. Plus, Thierry Henry just delivered a brutal lesson that hits close to home. But first, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel for more Celtic content. Celtic might not have named Martin O'Neill's centre-back for Ibrox, but the club may have nudged supporters in a certain direction on Saturday afternoon. With Austin Trusty serving a 3-match suspension after his red card for violent conduct in last week's defeat by Hibs at Celtic Park, O'Neill has to make a change for Sunday's derby at Ibrox. It's not as straightforward as it first seemed. Liam Scales is the constant, but who partners him has quickly become a big talking point. Benjamin Arthur, the January loan arrival from Brentford, is one option. He's barely featured so far, limited to a substitute appearance, but Celtic didn't bring him in just to make up the numbers. The timing is awkward though. He could be thrown into his first start in the most pressurised fixture in Scottish football. Then there's Dane Murray, back in the frame after a strong night in Stuttgart. Celtic won 1-0 in Germany, but went out of Europe 4-2 on aggregate, and Murray was one of the players singled out for praise afterwards. Arthur's case comes with a clear caveat. He wasn't registered for Europe, so while Murray was getting valuable minutes in Europe midweek, Arthur was watching from the sidelines. His sharpness at this level is still an unknown, and yet it's Celtic's own media output that has supporters joining the dots. The club's training gallery on Saturday included an image of Arthur placed next to a shot of Trusty, even though everyone knows Trusty is suspended. This was later deleted, which is strange. It's hardly a team sheet reveal, but clubs don't post content at random either, especially on the eve of a derby. It felt like the kind of subtle nudge that's designed to get people talking, especially after it was then taken down. Sunday's match is a noon kickoff at Ibrox, live on Sky Sports, and the stakes are huge. Celtic sit third, 2 points behind Rangers and 6 behind Hearts, with a game in hand over both. A Rangers win swings momentum their way. A Celtic win changes the picture completely and puts the Hoops in a strong position with that extra fixture still to come. O'Neill has choices, and both come with risk. Start Arthur, and you're trusting a new signing to handle Ibrox with minimal Celtic minutes behind him. Go with Murray, and you're leaning on a young defender who's had his struggles this season. Either way, Celtic have to get it right. Once the ball is kicked at 12 o'clock on Sunday, the 1st of March, there's nowhere to hide. Now for the main story, as Celtic will be priced out of a summer move for Bodo/Glimt striker Kasper Ho, following his impressive Champions League exploits this season. Celtic were heavily linked to swoop for Ho in the January window, but Bodo/Glimt did not entertain any interest in his services after reaching the Champions League playoff round. The Norwegian side beat Inter Milan over 2 legs to reach the last 16, with Ho scoring once and assisting 2 goals in their 3-1 first leg victory. As revealed on the latest edition of Football Insider's Transfer Insider podcast, Celtic now stand little chance of signing the 25-year-old this summer due to his strong form and other clubs entering the race for his services. Ho scored 17 goals in 28 Elite Syrian games throughout their 2025 campaign, while he's netted 5 goals in 12 Champions League appearances to help fire Bodo to the round of 16. Celtic wanted to sign him in January and remain interested in his services, but face an uphill battle to do so in the summer due to his heroics on the European stage. Speaking on the Transfer Insider podcast, they explained, "I think obviously his form might bring bigger clubs with bigger budgets into the race for Kasper Ho. Again, Celtic looked at him in January as they were looking for striking reinforcements, but I think obviously the success of Bodo/Glimt meant that they didn't want to entertain letting their forward go. They wanted to keep him for those Champions League playoffs, and obviously that move has paid off because they pulled off a real shock result against Inter Milan to reach the last 16. Obviously they will bank a lot of money from their success in Europe as well, so they're not under any pressure to sell the likes of Kasper Ho, and if Bodo are able to offer him and other players the opportunity to play in the Champions League, it's going to be hard to prize them away." In other news, Junior Adamu was handed a start against Stuttgart in midweek, and despite Celtic's Europa League exit, the Austrian striker left a positive impression. Adamu showed some neat touches, linked the play well, and looked a more rounded option than Thomas Kvankara during his time on the pitch. He was withdrawn just after the hour mark, which did suggest that he's still being managed carefully in terms of minutes, but it was another encouraging step as he builds fitness and sharpness. With attention now turning fully to Sunday's derby, the 24-year-old will be hoping his display did enough to convince Celtic boss Martin O'Neill to give him the nod again. Speaking ahead of the trip to Ibrox, Adamu admitted he's quickly grasped just how much the fixture means in Scotland and to the supporters. Adamu said, "Everyone in the country can feel the tension for the game. It's crazy here. The focus is entirely on the championship title, which is the most important thing for the fans and the club. People here live for football. We're not allowed to wear anything blue anyway, so I left all my blue clothes in Freiburg. The atmosphere will be incredible. If you score a goal in this game, you're the king. I am enjoying it here. Although when someone tells a story with a Scottish accent, you have to be mentally prepared. I scored a back heel goal against Dundee, which I had been doing in training sessions. It felt like when I scored against Bayern Munich in the Champions League for Salzburg. The fans were practically running onto the pitch. I haven't played in every game, but it's difficult for the coach right now too because he's trying to find the right starting lineup. Whether Adamu starts or not against Rangers, his comments show a player relishing the occasion and fully aware of what a decisive moment in a Glasgow derby could mean. It's a massive game for Celtic tomorrow. They need a win to keep their title hopes alive. It already feels like a tough fight back, but 3 points over Rangers, and the boost that comes with that could be massive by the time the end of the season is around. In other news, Barry Ferguson has stated he would have gone about things in a different manner than Danny Roll after his comments about Celtic's team ahead of the Glasgow derby on Sunday. Following Celtic's trip to Stuttgart on Thursday night in the Europa League, the Rangers boss spoke about how Martin O'Neill's side were not trying to win this game 2-0, 3-0 after going 1-0 up and then losing 4-2 on aggregate. Roll also stated it will be interesting to see who starts in between the goals for Celtic, but Ferguson thinks the man in the Ibrox dugout should respect those in green and white because you are in for one almighty fall if things go wrong. Every time I came up against Celtic, you have to respect your opponent, Ferguson told Go Radio. That's just the way I was brought up, and I always did it. I think if you go in and don't respect your opponent, then you are in for one almighty fall. Lastly, Thierry Henry lauded the efforts of Bodo/Glimt and how nothing beats a team after they knocked out last season's losing finalists, Inter, 5-2 on aggregate, including a 2-1 second leg win at the San Siro, and progressed to the last 16 of Europe's elite competition for the first time in their history. It probably sums up where Celtic are that as soon as they crash out of the Europa League, a team like FK Bodo/Glimt are rising in the Champions League. A lot has been said about Celtic's lack of ambition in Europe, but Henry nailed it on the head when he stated that Bodo/Glimt's efforts and how they've gone about it is a lesson for one and all. "We talk about money," said Henry on CBS Sports. "We talk about names. Nothing beats a team. I don't care what you say." Celtic were one of Bodo's early victims when Ange Postecoglou was in charge, and since then, it's been night and day between the two in Europe, as this past week has illustrated. Celtic were in Bodo's situation last season, but the Hoops missed out on the last 16 stage after narrowly and agonisingly losing to Bayern Munich. Either way, those Celtic fans who protest against the board will continue to use a team like Bodo as an example because, even from a financial standpoint, they are behind the champions of Scotland. That's all the latest Celtic news for today. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment below with your thoughts. I'll see you in the next one. Hail, hail.